What we have here is another failed engine, just in time for Christmas. Let's get started. A 2015 Volvo XC60 that burns oil like no tomorrow. We're going to find out what's wrong with this engine and how it's going to need a new engine and who's going to pay for it. It's Christmas time coming up. Also, we're going to do a quick inspection. Let's take a look around this thing and see. It's only 9 years old with 106,000 miles, and we're at this. These Volvos actually have a very nice front end, no matter if it's XC90, 60, whatever. They have really good styling. As we come along to the side, you can see it has some nice wheels. I think those are 20s. Let's take a look and see. Yep, are 20s. Those look really, they're a little dirty, but I love the styling on it. And as we come down the side, it has really nice Volvo angles. It has a tail light on it. It's very Volvo-esque. It doesn't look like anything else. This is the XC60 T5 with a 2.0 4-cylinder, and the other side is equally as nice. Let's take a look in the interior.
So there it is, 106,308 miles. And on any other Volvo back in the day, that's nothing. But in today's Volvos, it's a different story. Like the gauge cluster, it's all digital. We get a little bit of an accent going on with the car not on and the door recently closed, but it does look nice. As we move up, you'll see that we have a plastic dash, but it isn't broken, it isn't marred, there's no marks, there's no gouges. It's looking good. We do have a small infotainment screen above our HVAC vents with a slot for a CD and lots of buttons. Numeric pad and buttons for this, buttons for that. Wow, I haven't seen that many buttons since a Cadillac Alante. But we do have controls that are easy to understand. As you move down, you'll see that we have our gear selector. We do have a key because this is a push button start car. So look at our seats. They are a dark charcoal color. There's no bolster or anything on them because this is a Volvo. You don't go, drifting around corners in a Volvo. Door card, again, lots more gray, gray, gray with a little bit of a steel accent there that kind of wraps around from the handle to the door release as well. And in the back seat, you'll see we have lots more charcoal gray, and behind that armrest will be a ski pass-through. Guarantee it, because it's a Volvo. We do have a kind of a cage back there for their animal to make sure it doesn't, come up here and maybe have a little bit more protection. We do have a mesh over our very large panoramic roof. And we're back to our steering wheel. Nothing crazy, nothing complicated here, just lots of buttons on there with that logo in the center, just like almost every other steering wheel we see today. So enough of this interior talk. Let's get this up in the air and see what's going on underneath.
One thing I can tell right off the bat, this has been to a previous shop and they didn't get some things buttoned up just right. This is wavering around. It's been wavering around for a while. It's actually been rubbing on the CV shaft. I'll show you. You can see it's got a nice rub line on there. And we can also see the screw is there. They should have put a washer or put a better clip on it or something. They just kind of ran it in until it broke through the material. And now it's flopping. There's also a bolt missing here. There's one missing here. There's several bolts missing on this under tray, and it looks like when they did an oil change, they spilled oil all over it. It's pretty common to see on a belly pan 1 or 2 bolts missing, but there's several missing on this one, and this flopping around like this eventually is going to get caught in the tire and get pulled and ripped, and it could do some damage. But let's go ahead and check the brakes and everything, make sure they're doing okay. About half gone, but they're still good. CV boot is good. Everything looks okay. Strut is good. Sway bar link is good. Same thing over here on the brakes. Nothing loose. Sway bar link is good. CV boots are good. Volvos used to be very reliable when they were rear-wheel drive, but once they went to front-wheel drive, things kind of went downhill. This one is a front-wheel drive. It's not an all-wheel drive. There's no drive shaft to the back. There's no CV shafts in the back. The exhaust is intact. Everything looks good there. Sheet metal heat shields are intact. Here's our fuel tank. And we arrive at the back. We don't have to look for any CV shafts or anything. There aren't any. The shocks look okay. Sway bar link is good. Nothing loose there. Brake pads are about half gone. Brake pads are half gone on this side. Sway bar link is good. Nothing loose. Let's take a look at the tire date codes. We can see here 26th week of 2021, so they still have some life left in them. They're about half gone on the tread, but they're not too old by years either. Let's get this thing on the ground. So what has made the engine be bad on this? Why is it toast? And it is a design flaw. Let's go ahead and open up the hood and take a look. Move this out of the way. Here is our 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. And although it looks to be in good shape, everything appears to be fine, but unfortunately the customer commented when they dropped it off that between oil changes, which they do about 5,000 to 6,000 mile oil changes, it's using up to 2 quarts of oil, and sometimes more. The oil consumption just recently went on a huge rise. It just really started to use oil fast. And the customer's like, what is going on here? This thing doesn't have that many miles on it. We actually did some tests, and it actually is burning quite a bit of oil. We looked up some information on Identifix. Let me show you what we found. We work on so many different makes of vehicles here. It's hard to know everything about every model of every car. There could be thousands of models of cars. So we use Identifix when we find symptoms and we're looking for a diagnosis. This is what we found on this vehicle. So it mentions tons of models: S60, S80, S90, V90, XC40, XC60. All these years and models that has the 4-cylinder engine if it's burning oil. It says to do some tests, pull the spark plugs, which we did. We'll show you what we found. But Volvo has made an extended warranty P10186 for the 4-cylinder engine in the 2015 and 2016 model years. Damage due to failed piston rings. So a spark plug should have like a very light tan color if it's burning right. There should be no deposits, no white ash or anything on there. If there is, it's burning coolant or oil or something else other than fuel. So let's take a look at the 4 plugs. We removed all 4 of them to see if there's one cylinder that's worse than the other. And unfortunately, they are all burning the same amount. So these should have a tan color on them, but you can see that there is very heavy ash deposits. They're white. And it's on all 4 plugs. I'll pick one up so you can get a little better view of it. You can see the white ash on the electrode there. I can kind of scrape it off with my nail, but it's on there pretty hard. I can look at the plugs and tell it just started doing this not too long ago. That's not buildup that's happened over the past year and a half, 2 years. Something has happened inside the engine, and according to the paperwork, which I'm going to show you, it's an internal failure in the engine, which is a very common issue on these. So I mentioned there was an extended warranty given by Volvo, and they wouldn't do this if it was just a handful of vehicles. There's a lot of these that are failing. That's why they've offered this extended warranty. They say it's 8 years, 100,000 miles. They'll put a new engine in it, and I'll show you here. It talks about an engine replacement, and it lists some of the variables that they need met before they do it, but this is one of the things they do, is very likely replace the engine. That's what happened here on this Identifix article. Replaced the engine. That's what they did. Now you're thinking, well, it's already exceeded past the miles in the year. It's right at the breaking point. It's not too far off. We're going to put it back together and tell them to take it to Volvo and plead with them. Maybe they'll do kind of a grace period, or maybe they're a goodwill type of repair. It's very possible they'll go ahead and cover this and give them a new engine. If they do not, I would say this thing is totaled, because a brand new engine on one of these is going to be $8-9 grand from Volvo, and then the labor to put it in, you can go buy another XC60 for that much money. And no, we're not putting used engines, because if they have such a problem with these burning oil that they put out an extended warranty, why would we put another one in and be in the same place we were before we even started, still burning oil? That's not a good idea. For illustration purposes, I actually have a little piston here. I'm going to show you the rings.
What is that thing? The thing is tiny. You need to have something bigger. Bigger is better.
Bigger is better.
Bigger is better.
Okay. Well, I guess we're using this one today.
Yes.
Well, let's get it up close on this. I want to show you the rings on this bigger piston. It's pretty heavy.
It is. It came out of a tractor. It's a case.
Crazy D gave you this to you?
Yeah. I'm going to try and do something with the part work on it, but that or it's a club or an assault weapon.
Okay, let's take a look. So thank you, Mrs. Wizard, for letting us know that bigger is always better.
You're welcome.
And here are the rings. You can see them. I can push them. They're kind of floating around there. They're these little hardened steel rings that are on the piston. This one that has little dashes in it is actually the oil control ring. It actually does the oil sealing. But these have gone bad on this Volvo and letting oil get past the rings and into the combustion chamber. So that's what's wrong. So what does that mean, your rings have gone bad? Those little rings I just showed you on the piston are no longer sealing properly as far as oil. Oil is supposed to stay below the piston and stay inside the engine, not supposed to get into the combustion chamber and be burned. It's getting past those rings into the combustion chamber, and it's getting all over the spark plug, causing the white ash. It's burning the oil, and if you're not careful, you can actually run yourself out of oil. I've actually had people come up and say, my oil pressure light is on, I don't know why, and I pull the dipstick and there's nothing in it. And they're like, well, where'd the oil go? It's probably been burning oil, you just haven't noticed it, and you ran so long on an oil change that you used up your oil. It's all gone. If you were to go to a 10,000 mile or longer period on this engine, it could get dangerously low on oil.
Could it hurt the cats?
It actually could. If there was lots of oil consumption really fast, it could foul the cats. It's definitely a possibility. Now, the argument can be made, why don't you just rebuild this one? Because it will cost as much or more than just getting a long block replacement and putting it in here and putting it back together, because the old engine is going to need machine work. It's going to need rings, timing chains, guides, gaskets, bolts. All those things add up to the same price as just getting a good reman or a long block engine. As I mentioned, if Volvo will not make good on possibly a goodwill gesture to get this fixed for this customer, we will tell them we are not interested in putting a new engine for them. Obviously not a used engine either. For the money it would cost to fix this problem, they can go buy another Volvo. It's just not worth it. Back in the day of the old Chevy 350, you could rebuild an engine for pretty cheap. I remember going to a place not too far from here in Wichita that rebuilt engines. You could get a 350 long block for 900 bucks. That doesn't exist anymore. Engines are so complicated with all the tiny little moving parts and direct injection and all these very expensive emission systems and things on them that when you start taking stuff apart, you say, well, while we're here, we found this is going bad and this is going bad, and constantly you're hearing the cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching stuff is just adding up really, really fast. It's not like it was back in 1986. We're in 2024, and when you start diving into an engine, it's at least $5 or $6 grand. You can get another engine for that much, maybe 7 or 8, with a warranty for years. Swap it out, and you're done. So we'll get this back together and get the vehicle to the customer, and hopefully Volvo will help them out. Now, if they wanted to, they probably could keep driving it this way for quite a while. It won't hurt the cats. It's not burning oil that fast. But it's enough to be annoying and to know that your engine's probably slowly on its way out. How much longer will it last? I don't know. But that'll be a decision the customer will have to make. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on any of the cars in the shop or what we've done a little bit here, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. Lots of great gift ideas there for the holidays. A lot of the tools we use in the shop are for sale there, and if you purchase anything, we get a small cut. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because we got so many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.